I will be ranking every single Area 51 weapon, including miscellaneous weapons such as the landmine and other one-time use items. Before I dig into this video, I just want you guys to know that this is all my opinion. I'm not going to be basing this on statistics or anything like that, or the best of the best. I'm just going to be ranking them based on my experiences on mobile and PC, because if you don't remember, I used to play on phone all the time on this game, and some of my opinions for these gums came from my experiences on phone. And so yeah guys, I will be ranking all of the items in Area 51, including event items such as the Jago bomb and the ice trip mine, and some other mode weapons such as rock and the monkey bomb. So anyway, let's just get into it with the P90 off the bat, guys. And the P90 is a solid gun, I'm not gonna lie. It's not the greatest gun, but it's not a bad gun in the game. I'd say this is one of the most decent guns ever, especially since the P90, you know, it's just, you know, it falls into this category of assault rifles, which there's a ton of assault rifles in this Area 51 game. The P90, the M4A1, the AN94, like, I could go on, the G360, the AK-47. There's a few of these guns that act the same, but for me, the P90 does shoot a little different than most of the other guns I've noticed. The bullets don't shoot straight like most other guns, and so you kind of have to tilt your camera a little bit differently when you're shooting this gun. And for that, I'm going to actually give it a B. And the main reason, I know it's high, like, whoa, B, I promise. But I'm giving it B tier here because it's a solid weapon and it can do some solid damage in Juggernaut. If you get this gun, I think you're good in Juggernaut, honestly. Like, it's a solid enough weapon that you can solo a Juggernaut on, in my opinion. Next up, we got the M14. Oh, the M14. Man, this gun has been the worst gun in the game for years now, and it even got a buff, actually, guys, but it's still so inaccurate, and the damage may be increased, but for me, it is just so painful to use. I'd honestly rather use the M191, although I know the M14 is okay on Juggernaut mode. On most other modes, it is just terrible. If you go on any other mode but Juggernaut, I swear, it is just it's just not great. Unfortunately, M14, you were getting plopped into the F tier. I am so sorry, buddy. I know you have 14 in your name. It's great, but man, dude, that 14 is just really unfortunate. Oh, and we got the SVD coming up. Quite the opposite, I would say, from the M14. This gun is insanely powerful. It gets 5 quick shots, and it just takes off so much damage, especially in Juggernaut, dude. This gun is so good in Juggernaut mode. It's shocking that they give away 2 of them. But yeah, the SVD is a very good gun, high damage. If you PackAPunch this thing too, it is crazy. Also, I wanted to note that I will be including the PAP M1911 and the PAP Crossbow. I know they have their own specific names, but you know, or the Mustang or whatever. But I will be including those two because they have they're a little different than their main weapons, especially the PAP M1911 or the Mustang 19. But anyway, the SVD. This is a really, really good gun. Probably one of the best guns in the game. People always complain about the Raygun, but man, not enough people complain about the SVD in killer mode. I'm not gonna lie. It is so good, S tier easily. Next up, we have the Landmine Game Pass. And this is the first item in the list where it isn't actually you can't just, you know, hit a Juggernaut with this. The Juggernaut has to walk into it. Obviously, you can like place this down when the Juggernaut's chasing you or a killer's chasing you, and you can get some damage off. That's probably the best way to use this weapon, but yeah, it's probably the best way to use it. But you still have to rely on them, you know, like walking into it. I will say you can pick it up, so it actually is pretty solid. The fact that you can just straight up pick it off the ground. But for me, I am gonna throw this in F tier because you have to rely on a killer to actually hit it. And I'll get into this later with the ice trip mine, but also, you know, with force fields, it really does nothing if, you know, if someone spawns on it. Next up, we got the M4A1, and this is a solid assault rifle. this is probably my favorite out of the bunch. I am very biased toward it because it was in the toxic sewers. But yeah, the M4A1 is really solid, guys. I would say it has a really, like, it's just fast. It has a fast reload time. The only, like, downside to this is the ammo. You know, unfortunately, it just doesn't have the Grace Mount ammo, but I will say that it's probably one of the most satisfying assault rifles to use in the game besides the AN94. So for that, I'm going to give it a B tier. I think I've always had a better time using this gun than most other assault rifles, so I'm going to give it B tier for that. We got the R870 coming up, and this shotgun, man, this shotgun's okay. But, man, it's so bad long range. But I will say, if it's close range and you know how to use it, this gun can be a very good weapon to use in Juggernaut mode or Killer mode or whatever. I will say, though, it's just not great. The damage isn't that high. And also, you know, the long range is just really bad. And the reload time is so slow. This one's going to get D tier, unfortunately. The R870, it's a solid gun, but it's just, you know, very slow. It's the slowest shotgun in the game. Next up, we got the AN94, which is actually the fastest gun in the game, shockingly. And it is another satisfying weapon in the game. The rarest gun in Juggernaut mode, I believe. And it's so fun to use. It's probably one of my favorite guns right now. And yeah, dude, I love this gun. It's fast and it shoots so quickly. It has 2 modes as well, but it is, of course, falling under the assault rifle category. It has okay damage. The recoil is pretty high as well, and that's another thing too. All these assault rifles have recoil, and so, or high recoil, so you know, that is a downside. But I'm gonna give this B tier as well. I think it's a solid gun. We're moving on to the Raygun. Everyone's favorite gun in the game. Oh my goodness. Everyone loves this gun when they pack a punch. I'm just kidding. But, you know, you gotta give credit where credit's due. This gun literally is the backbone to endless survival. It is the most powerful gun in literally every mode. But it's just so powerful. You know, the Raygun is S tier. It's just easily S tier. It's one of the best guns in the entire game. It probably is the best gun in the entire game, probably better than the SVD, but, you know, the Raygun is just really good in SAKTK, and I could go on all day. So it has the biggest bullets in the game, the bullets go through the wall, and it has some high damage. It's just really, really OP in SAKTK. Next up, we got the DB Shotgun, and this is a very powerful gun up close. Now, away, it is not as great, but you can still get damage with this gun from far away. But man, up close, this gun is so OP. It has a fast reload time. It has a nice little explosion when you shoot it as well. This gun is just really good, and if you PackAPunched it as well, it's just even worse. But it's probably the second best endless survival gun, I'm not gonna lie. It is very good. I'm gonna give this gun S tier as well. Now I know, yeah, 3 S tier weapons, bam, 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 much different than the killer mode tier list if you saw that. The DB shotgun is just really, really powerful. All 3 S tier guns here so far, they have high damage. Next up, we got the Jago bomb, everyone. Look at this. So the Jago bomb, it's a pretty solid weapon. I will say that it's one-time use, and if you do hit a killer with it, they will be stunned after its cooldown or its timer. It's very similar to the monkey bomb, except it stuns killers. And I do think that, like, if this were an endless survival, this would be an amazing item. Probably even better than monkey bomb because it would stun them. Because you know, especially in higher waves. But unfortunately, it's not in endless. It is you know, in classic and killer mode. But I will say it's so helpful in classic mode and killer mode. But although killer mode is not as great. So for that, I am gonna give this F tier simply because it doesn't really kill killers. It kind of just, you know, it kind of just does its own thing, unfortunately. But yeah, I will give the Jago bomb that, especially since, you know, it's just like, it's a throwable fun item. It's not really meant to be like a very OP item, luckily. Next up, we got the M16A2, everyone. The M16A2 is a really good weapon. It also has an M203 mode as well, where you can shoot an explosive. So this gun's dual threat. Is a dual threat. It's, you know, your regular machine gun with an explosive. It is very good though. It has better damage than all the other assault rifles. I'm gonna give this A tier easily because of that explosive thing that you can use, the M203, is a very good weapon. Now we're gonna go to the MG42. MG42. Now, there's always been an argument, oh, the MG42 is better than the M16A2, and then vice versa as well. Both of these guns have like basically been argued over. I'm gonna give the MG42 an A tier. I know the reload time is pretty slow, but dude, the damage that this gun has on Juggernaut is insane. You could miss and you'll still get solid damage with this gun. This gun obviously has a high spread, meaning that it's not really as skill based. You can just shoot and, you know, towards something and you'll hit it eventually. But dude, I will say this is a very good machine gun on Juggernaut mode and killer mode. It is very annoying to deal with. Like, it genuinely will cause you to lose a lot of health very quickly. Next up, we got the Crossbow, and I know, okay, people just hate the Crossbow. I'm honestly, I don't get it. I do understand that, you know, oh, it takes forever for the, you know, the arrows to explode. I do understand that, but dude, the damage that you can get with Crossbow on Juggernaut mode is pretty okay. And killer mode, I know killer mode's not as great, obviously, but I will say the Crossbow is good at, you know, shooting an object and putting a timer on the object. It kind of like is a great item for if you want to like you know, get people or killers away from camping a door. Is very good at that, and especially since it's, you know, it's basically like a warning. But yeah, I will say I think the Crossbow is a little overhated. I genuinely do. I know it has little ammo and that, you know, it's only 12 shots before you have to get more ammo, but it is a solid gun on Juggernaut, like if we're looking at Juggernaut more than killer mode here, which is why it's getting a D tier. It's not getting anything crazy, guys. I know I see everyone throw this in F tier, and I'm like, guys, but like, it's not that bad. I know everyone hates it still, but you know, it's not the greatest gun, obviously. It's in D tier, but you know. Anyway, moving on, we got the Freeze Gun, or the Freeze Ray. The Freeze Gun is the official name, though, and the Freeze Gun, all it does is just freeze killers. It's kind of like a stun weapon, pretty much. This is an easy F tier, unfortunately, because it doesn't really, you know, do any damage toward killers, and you know, so, you know, rest in peace to the freeze gun. And also, like, if you freeze a killer, they get unfrozen very quickly too. So it's not like they're gonna be frozen for long if you do hit them. So yeah, unfortunately, the freeze gun, it's going in F tier. The older one was probably a lot better than it. Next up, we got the M1014, a very fun gun. This gun is a lot of fun to use. I actually love using this gun, but yeah, dude, it's just like, it's probably the best long-ranged shotgun in Area 51. And what I mean by that is that a killer could be like a few feet away, like, and they'd still get hit by this with solid damage. The M1014 is a little underrated in my opinion. I think it is an easy A tier in my opinion. I think the M1014 just absolutely deserves A tier. It does a lot of damage, especially in Juggernaut mode. If you get your hands on one of those, yeah, the round isn't over, but you know, you don't have to go for any more guns if you get the M1014. Anything in A tier or S tier, like, you can just stop searching for guns in Juggernaut mode because you'll be fine. Pretty much is my point. Next up, we got the AWP. Oh, the AWP. Now, this one's a very controversial weapon in Area 51. And the main reason for this is because some people are like, oh, but I can't really hit the targets that easily. And then some people are like, well, it can one-shot. And yes, it can one-shot with headshots, the AWP. And I personally have been a fan of the AWP. It's my favorite gun in the game, but I can't lie, guys. I can't just throw it in S tier because it's not that great. The reload time is very slow, but I will say it is the most fun gun to use ever. Like, I still love it. Although on mobile, I will say this, it wasn't that bad to shoot on mobile. For me at least. It was more difficult on PC to shoot, which is kind of interesting how that works. But I'm going to give this A tier. I think the AWP is either underrated or overhated or, you know, too loved. I think it's just A tier, solid A tier. I do hate admitting that it's the worst sniper in the game. You know, I love the AWP more than the SVD, but like, I gotta be realistic here. The op isn't the greatest gun, like the SVD, but it is a really good gun still. It can still one tap, and you know, just it's a great gun. Anyway, we got the MP5K, and this submachine gun, I believe, is actually really solid in my opinion because, you know, it shoots as fast as any assault rifle, but it has less recoil. Obviously, I don't think it has as much damage. It doesn't shoot, or, you know, it might shoot as fast. I have no clue the specific statistics, but in my personal opinion, I think it's a really solid weapon simply because there's little recoil on it. I'm going to give this another B tier. And look, I'm avoiding the C tier like the plague right now, which is kind of funny. Like, what we started off in the C tier so much in the killer one, and now we've avoided it. Next up, we do got the Deagle. And the Deagle is a pretty solid weapon, I will say, but is very inaccurate. But it has good damage, but it's very inaccurate. It's like middle of the pack. And for that, I am going to give it C tier. Yes, we're finally throwing something in C tier. I will say the Deagle, it's a solid weapon. It's just like, it's really inaccurate. It's like the Raygun, except lower damage and more inaccurate, I guess you could say. It kind of shoots like the Raygun. Next up, we got the M1911. And by the way, I don't know if it's the M1911 or M1911. People say it either way. But we do got this gun here, and I think it's a solid weapon. You can win with this without like any other weapons on Juggernaut. It's that OP. It can actually do damage. I think it's very solid, and you know, there's plenty of ammo too. It's a very good backup weapon. I'm giving this D tier though because it's just not the greatest gun. It's like probably like the base gun of SAKTK. It is the most base gun. Now we got the PAP M1911, or a Mustang, and this gun is really interesting because it turns all of the bullets into explosives. But the problem is that there is barely any ammo, and those bullets don't do much damage. And so I would love to put this above the M1911. I would love to, but unfortunately, I think PackAPunching this just kind of is equal to the actual gun. Not gonna lie. Because you lose ammo, you lose damage, all you kind of do is just, you're able to lag people more. Obviously, you can shoot through walls and, you know, do that, but I genuinely think that the PAP M1911 is, like, basically the same as the M1911. I genuinely think, I don't understand why people PackAPunch it on Juggernaut. But anyway, we got the PackAPunch crossbow here, and this is a really interesting one because, with this crossbow, basically what happens is if you shoot it at an AI killer, it will actually like go toward an AI killer similar to the Jago bomb or the monkey bomb. And so you get like 12 shots of it. I personally think this gun is really solid, especially in Endless, where it's the most important gun, or not the most important, but it's a very important gun on Endless if you're trying to survive. I will say, I'm going to put this in C tier, shockingly. Yeah, guys, I genuinely think it's a solid weapon, and it does solid damage on Juggernaut as well. I think it's a very middle-of-the-pack weapon. I think this is one weapon that you can really get away with PackAPunching. You know, the normal crossbow is like, eh, but this one's pretty solid. Next up, we got the AK-47. Now, this gun is probably the most overhyped gun in the entire game, unfortunately. And that's just because it's like your ordinary assault rifle, except like its recoil and its reload times are, I believe, a little slower, but to me they're a little slower. The AK-47 I've just never loved using, unfortunately. I am gonna throw this in C tier. I think it's a solid C tier. I know like it's kind of weird for me to like put this in a tier lower than, you know, the M4A1. But the main reason it's going in C tier is simply because it's just like it's just not the same as the M4A1, guys. Come on. Next is the G36C, and do you want a louder version of the AK? Oh, here you go. I'm throwing this in C tier as well, unfortunately, for the G36C. It's, I believe, like the slowest assault rifle out of them all, I believe. But also, it's just so loud. Like, you'll lose your ears if you use this gun. And I just, like, for me, the AK-47 and the G36C, they're just not as great as the others. I feel like especially the G36C, that recoil, man, I swear it's more. I know, like, it's very similar to the M4A1, but to me, it's just like, I swear, it's just weird. But, you know, for me, you know, you could always say that the M4A1 is equal to the AK and the G360. That is totally acceptable. Same with the P90 as well. You could say they're all equal, but for me, I'm just kind of going by my own personal experience with these guns. I feel like I win way more matches with the M4A1 than I would do with a G360 or an AK. That's kind of my point. We're going to start off with the Rock, and I think the Rock is kind of underrated. If you became the Rock Thrower on Storming mode, which is the only place that the Rock is available, the Rock isn't that bad. I believe it can one-tap soldiers, which is kind of crazy, guys. Like I mean, dude, it's not that bad, of a weapon. I remember we all, like, I did a video where we all were Rock Throwers, and we won easily with just the Rock, in Storming mode. I do think that the Rock can easily go in C tier here, and you know, I genuinely think the Rock is a solid thing. Obviously, he has infinite; you can just continuously throw him. But you know, yeah, I would say the Rock, you can literally win with Storming on it. I think it's a solid weapon. Out of the miscellaneous, is probably the best one, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we got the Monkey Bomb. This is an endless only item, and it also attracts killers. Unfortunately for the Monkey Bomb, though, it's not that great. I do think it's kind of weak, especially since, you know, on the higher stages of the waves, it just becomes a pumpkin bomb, except it doesn't stun. I am gonna give the Monkey Bomb D tier, I think, here. I think the Monkey Bomb is okay, but the fact it actually does some sort of damage is okay. I know it was kind of mean toward the Monkey Bomb there, but I think the Monkey Bomb, it can have its purpose, and it is useful and endless whenever you need it, but it's not the greatest item. Now we got the Ice Tripmine, and this is like the toughest one for me, because I could easily throw this in F tier, but the thing is that the Ice Tripmine is actually kind of insane on killer mode. If you throw this thing in front of the Slender Cage or anywhere where a killer spawns, you can still freeze killers even if they have their force field on. Like, if they just spawned, you can still kill killers. I mean, I don't know, dude. This one's a tough one just because, like, I want to throw it in D tier. I really do. But at the same time, it doesn't really do much. You know what I mean? You still need something else to actually kill a killer with. So, unfortunately, the Ice Tripmine, it's going to go in the F tier just because you can't really, you can't kill any killers with it. You can't, like, finish them off. All the other items you can. But yeah, that's pretty much my list. I do think the Rock is overhated, though. It's genuinely a solid weapon in the game. It's just that no one uses it, because who would? in Storming. But yeah, guys, that's my weapon tier list. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I know the machine gun tomfoolery, some of you guys are probably like, why would you put the M4A1 up there? And stuff. But, you know, that's my weapon tier list. I do think the M14 is easily the best weapon in the game. Or not the best, the worst weapon in the game. I think the Crossbow is, like, eh. And same with the R870 as well. That's why they're in D tier. But, you know, guys, let me know what you think in the comments of my tier list. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. And like the video to show support. I hope to see you in the next one.